Part 9. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 81. Chapter 81 Past Events in the Haunted House. Taoist Master Su. Slightly surprised, Huang Yuanjia glanced at the 7 handsome boys beside him. Huang Yuanjia looked respectful and bowed to the tall young Taoists standing opposite. Su Junming smiled and nodded. Zhi Huang is really not disappointed. He has finished the work in less than 4 days. Huang Yuanjia waved his hand and signaled the servants who came with him to put the box down. The Taoist priest has been very kind to my Huang family, so I don't dare to neglect him. He opened the lid of the box and revealed the yellow gold bars inside. The jewelry that the Taoist master gave to Zhaixia has all been sold at the highest price in the market, earning a total of 3,252 taels of silver. Zhaixia made his own decision and exchanged 150 taels of gold for the Taoist master. Send over. According to what you said, 3,252 taels of silver should be exchanged for 135.5 taels of gold. Why is there so much more here? Huang Yuanjia bowed again. The Taoist priest took the risk to save the child's soul. After that, he always remembered it for 5 seconds, so he took it upon himself to give the Taoist priest a round number. Su Junming smiled lightly and looked at his expression. Zhi Huang is treating others with courtesy, so he must ask for something, right? Huang Yuanjia is a typical businessman who pays attention to 3 in and 7 out. He would not do a loss-making business. Huang Yuanjia smiled awkwardly in front of the opposite eyes, which were as clear as black and white and as deep as an abyss, as if they could penetrate to the bottom of his heart. Taoist master's eyes are as bright as a torch, and his wisdom is as deep as the abyss. If I use this little trick, I can't hide it from your eyes. As expected of a businessman, his flattery is direct and not offensive to anyone. If you have anything to say, Taoist Huang, just say it. Yes, Taoist Master Rong is endowed with a friend who is also a high-ranking family member in Tanzhou City. He has a house that has been haunted for many years. He has tried many monks and Taoists, but to no avail. A few days ago, I heard about Xiao, or the matter was brought to my head. I couldn't resist, so I came to see the Taoist Master. If the Taoist Master can solve the problem, he is willing to pay 1,000 taels of silver to thank the Taoist Master for his kindness. Su Junming nodded. Naturally, he would not refuse something that could both make money and earn merit, but only if it was within his ability. Don't worry about the money. I have to go to your friend's yard first to take a look. Of course, that's no problem. Then you. Nothing happens, let's go now. Huang Yuanjia looked happy. I'll drive the director there. Su Junming nodded and used the space compression technique to compress 150 taels of gold into the size of an apricot kernel and put it into a magic bag. As for smelting, it's not too late to wait until we get back. After patting the bag, Su Junming was about to leave when he saw Mao Tiaoyu next to him and stopped again. Turn around. Old layman, would you like Mao to accompany me for a walk this afternoon? Of course, it's no problem. I'm just afraid that this kid will be careless and ruin the Taoist priest's affairs, Father Ma said quickly. It's just some sweeping things, very simple. Since Taoist Master doesn't mind, let's take him with us. Chang Shan, why don't you come over? Mao Tiaoyu came over reluctantly. If he had a choice, he would rather be with the little flower he misses so much. Follow the Taoist priest, be smart and don't cause trouble. Got it, Grandpa. You brat, let's go. Walking out of the house with Mao looking back 3 times in one step. Children are immature, and the novelty of riding in a car for the first time made him quickly forget about his little girlfriend. Looking at Mao Tiaoyu, who was twisting around and looking here and there, Su Junming's eyes were filled with scrutiny. The reason why he brought this little guy out was not because he was a virgin for 2 generations and envied other people's kindergarten romance. Instead, he deliberately investigated whether Mao Tianyu had the destiny to practice Taoism. If so, he would recommend it to Uncle Ju. Mao Tianyu, who is filial, and also smart, is definitely several times better than a Xing and Xiaoyu. If he can achieve something in the future, Ju Shudaotong Tong will also have a successor, and he will be worthy of the favor he gave him as a gift of the Diang straw mat. Mao Tu, what do you want to do when you grow up? Su Junming asked. I want to be like Marshal Tang. Mao Tianyu said with longing. Shui Tang. Su Junming had a question mark on his face. Huang Yuanjia, who was in the co-pilot, smiled and explained, the Marshal Tang that Brother Ma mentioned should be Tang Zuxin, the current governor of Nanhu. Mao Tianyu nodded vigorously and said in an envious tone. Every time Marshal Tang comes out, he brings more than 100 guards with box cannons. He shouts in front of him and crowds behind him, which is very majestic. Everyone who sees him will nod and bow. He lives in a high-walled compound and eats delicacies from the mountains and seas. Wearing silk and satin, and I heard that he has an 18th bedroom concubine. Seeing that he was distracted and drooling, Su Junming's face turned as dark as water. It was in vain that he wanted to help this bastard to become a Taoist. He did not expect that he was so attached to the world of mortals and had no trace of Taoism in his body. His good intentions were simply in vain. Look at how useless you are. Su Junming slapped Mao Tianyu on the back of the head. Ouch. Covering his head, he glanced sideways and saw that Su Junming's face was not good looking. Mao Tianyu pouted, and did not dare to say anything more. Su Junming didn't speak, and the atmosphere in the car became quiet. Seeing that he was a little angry, Huang Yuanjia was afraid of offending him, so he breathed a little lighter. The car drove through the streets and alleys, and after about half a quarter of an hour, it stopped outside a large house with red walls and green tiles, a pair of stone lions in front of the house, and a closed vermilion door. When a group of people got off the bus, the people who had been waiting here hurried over. As a middleman, Huang Yuanjia naturally had to introduce both parties. Steward Zhang, this is Taoist Su who I mentioned to Mr. Sen before. The middle-aged man, who was short and fat, with a mustache and shrewd eyes, looked Su Junming up and down. Seeing how young he was, there was doubt in his eyes. Huang Yuanjia, a sophisticated man, said quickly. Steward Zhang, although Taoist Su is young, he is a senior disciple of mission. He has strong magic power and can easily catch ghosts and subjugate demons. Butler Zhang nodded, took 2 steps forward, cupped his fists and saluted. Next, Zhang Yaoliang, the steward of the Sen mansion, has met Dao Kang Su. Su Junming, who had long heard the conversation between the two, raised his right palm with an indifferent expression. Honorable Master Zhang, Su Junming, a disciple of Mission Nanzang, pays homage to you. Dao Zhang Su, has Mr. Huang told you about the situation of our Sen mansion's old courtyard? No. Butler Zhang nodded clearly, after thinking about it for a while. This matter dates back to a year ago. My master bought a young lady named Yan Yang from Chunfang House as his concubine. He loved her very much. Later, this beautiful girl had an affair with the guard in the mansion and became pregnant. The master was furious and wanted to put her to death. Later, my wife begged for mercy and felt that we should first find out the situation before making a decision. As a result, the beautiful woman jumped into the lake and committed suicide that night, and her body was not recovered. It was nothing at first. Unexpectedly, when Yan Niang was in her 7th year, something weird happened in the house. People often heard crying in the middle of the night. I invited mage and Taoist priests to perform salvation, but there was no result. The next half-month one night, Madam's maid Chunxiang suddenly hanged herself on a willow tree by the lake. At this point, Butler Zhang's tone began to tremble, and a look of fear appeared on his face. Although a year has passed since the incident, I still can't help but feel fear when I bring it up again. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 82. Chapter 82 Kiran Statue. 3 days later, my wife also committed suicide by jumping into the lake. Within a month from that day, 17 people in our Sen mansion died in a row, and everyone was panicked. The master had no choice but to move out of the house. As time went by, this place became deserted. After hearing this, Su Junming guessed in his mind that the Sen family must not be ordinary people, especially the status of Mr. Cen. Otherwise, if ghost trouble occurs in ordinary people, within a month, the whole family may have died long ago. Taoist Master Su, do you have anything else you want to ask? As long as I can answer again, I will tell you everything I know. Jushi Zhang, your master wants to have an extraordinary status, right? Butler Zhang smiled and said nothing, but the arrogance on his face was revealed unconsciously. Seeing that he didn't say anything, Su Junming didn't ask any more questions. With the status of the master of your mansion, you will definitely be able to recruit many direct descendants of famous sects, but even they can't solve the ghost trouble in your mansion. Butler Zhang's face darkened slightly. Master Su, please speak up if you have something to say. Jushi Zhang misunderstood. I'm not refusing. I'm just afraid that my own knowledge is limited and I won't be able to solve your problem, but it will be a waste of time. As the steward of a wealthy family, Zhang Yaoliang may be arrogant, but on the surface he has a good attitude. As long as Taoist Master Su works hard, even if things don't work out, I, the Sen mansion, will still have 12 taels of silver as a gift. 12 taels of silver is enough for a family of 5 to live for 3 months, and the Sen family's approach can be considered kind. Su Junming nodded slightly. Please also ask Jushi Zhang to open the door and let me go in and take a look. Daozang Su, please, Butler Zhang nodded. Please. Butler Zhang had just taken 2 steps forward when he suddenly stopped and turned around. Mr. Huang, the master asked me to thank you for your recommendation. Next, I will take Taoist Su in for a walk if nothing happens. Mr. Huang, please come back. Huang Yuanjia showed a flattering smile on his face and immediately handed over his hand. Then I'll say goodbye. Taoist Master Su, I'll say goodbye again. Su Junming nodded in greeting. Huang Yuanjia took 2 steps back before turning around and leaving quickly. Watching his car drive away, Butler Zhang turned aside and raised his left hand. Taoist Master Su, please. Butler Zhang led 2 powerful men with bulging waists and military ambitions. Su Junming led Mao Tiaoyu with a curious look on his face. A group of 5 people passed through the small square in front of the door and climbed up the stairs. Pass through the large doorway and come to the vermilion door with brass nails and a golden lion swallowing its mouth. Dong dong dong. 3 times in a row, Butler Zhang raised his hand to take pictures. Wu Lushi? Wu Lushi? Is there anyone else in this house? Su Junming asked in surprise. There was also an old man named Wu Lushi who was a gatekeeper. When he was young, he was an executioner, and he killed many people. Later, the old man was ordered by the emperor to supervise the new army in Guangdong province. Seeing that he was tall and calm, he took him with him to do the job. I followed him personally, and followed the old master through life and death on the battlefield, and then he was injured. Although he was fine, his foot was lame. I couldn't stay in the military camp, so I was arranged by the old master to come to his place as a gatekeeper. I had no worries about food and drink, plenty of oil and water, and was quite leisurely. It's strange to say that since Jinyan's ghost started to stir up troubles, it was difficult for the whole house to be stable. Only this Wu honest, as if unaware, food, clothing, shelter, transportation, eating, drinking, and diarrhea are just as usual. 3 people died among the gatekeepers in the mansion, and he was the only one who was safe and sound. Later, the master moved away, so he was left here alone to look after the mansion. Nothing was different for a year. Su Junming nodded and couldn't help but be curious about Wu Leshi. Generally speaking, ghosts are also afraid of evil people. When Wu Leshi was young, he was an executioner, killing people like crazy. On the battlefield, he killed without any calculation, with the killing energy accumulated by hundreds of lives. Not even ghosts, let alone ghosts, dared to get close. Bada! There was a twitching sound of the door lever and a squeak sound. The vermilion door opened and a head with disheveled hair stuck out. Ah! Mao Tiaoyu screamed in fright and quickly hid behind Su Junming. The two well-dressed men who came with Butler Zhang also showed fear on their faces and subconsciously stretched out their hands to imitate their guns. Su Junming frowned. He had seen many ugly ghosts and ugly demons. But the one in front of me is really ugly. Morning eyebrows, slitted eyes, a wide mouth under an upturned nose, a lump on the forehead, and a mass of sarcoma of varying sizes. The flesh on both cheeks is piled up, like an 80-year-old toothless old woman. The two scars on the chin intersect, and there are more. She is 3/4 ugly, one ear is short and the other is long, and when she looked closely, she discovered that a piece of her left ear was missing. His neck was green and purple, as if he had been lying in boiling water. The ghosts in hell will probably look better than this one when they crawl out. Butler Zhang frowned. Although he had seen him many times, he was prepared in his heart. But looking at it now, I still feel scared. Su Junming was not afraid, but felt that his horizons had been opened. He was proficient in physiognomy. According to the phrase classic, Wu Leshi's facial features were called lion head or unicorn image. People with this kind of appearance are not only scary to people, but also scary to ghosts. Generally, in the inner courtyards of ancient palaces and the residences of high-ranking officials and dignitaries, such people would be used to guard the gates or family cemeteries. In addition, between the large and small bumps on Wu Leshi's forehead, there were light red fine lines growing windingly, almost covering the entire forehead. In physiognomy, these lines are called evil lines, which are the concentration of killing energy. It would be great if a soldier who had been on the battlefield could have 2 or 3. Wu Leshi had at least 30 or 40. No wonder I can live so comfortably in a haunted place. I am full of murderous aura, and I was born with a Kylin statue. No matter how ferocious the ghost is, I will not dare to get close unless it is a golden elixir evil ghost. Butler Zhang. His voice was hoarse, as if there was a mouthful of old phlegm in his throat. Wu Leshi, open the door, this Taoist Su wants to go in and take a look. Su Junming made some spiritual awareness. Hey, little Taoist priest, have you weaned yourself? Of all the ghosts and ghosts in this courtyard, they like you the most with your thin skin and tender flesh. Su Junming smiled lightly. I don't need to worry about it, layman. And compared to the poor Taoist, the layman should worry about himself. Yin people and Yang people have sex, and the taste is so strong, even the poor Taoist is willing to be inferior. Wu Leshi's expression froze. I didn't expect that a little Taoist priest like you still has some eyesight. But I have had enough of this Yangshi. I have been watching these ghosts fighting and making trouble all day long, and then I realized that being a ghost is not bad. After a pause, there was an expression on his face that every man would understand. Besides, that old hag is really good at spoiling, and her skills are superb. I feel really comfortable being served by her. Even if I die under the peonies, it's better than suffering here. Little Taoist priest, I can tell by your appearance that you are a shameless chick. Otherwise, don't catch any ghosts. Let Chunxiang and those sluts take care of you. I guarantee you will be hundreds of times better than Qingdeng Ancient Buddha or Hans Han Taoist. Wu Leshi, you are brave. Butler Zhang scolded angrily. Wu Leshi sneered he, not caring about Butler Zhang's attitude. He is a person who doesn't care about life and death, so he is naturally lawless. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 83. Chapter 83 The Weird Old House. Su Junming's face turned black. For a person who has been a virgin his whole life, this is the last thing he should mention. The bamboo stick in his hand was swung out like lightning. Wu Lishi, who couldn't react at all, only felt a strong force coming from his chest. He took 6 or 7 steps back and stopped after hitting the wall. The bamboo stick turned and swept across, and the vermilion door, which was about half a foot thick, opened with a bang. Under the dazzling afternoon sun, the dust accumulated over time fell down like little elves, floating in the sunshine. Su Junming waved his hand, and a strong wind came out of thin air, sweeping away all the dust. There are no blessings or misfortunes, they can only be brought about by oneself. Keep your mouth shut, otherwise even if you become a ghost, I will still put you in a dilemma of life and death. The cold tone silenced Wu Lishi, who had always been lawless. Only then did he remember that the man in front of him was not Butler Zhang whom he could tease at will, but a Taoist priest who was good at catching ghosts and subduing them. Seeing that he didn't speak, Su Junming didn't bother to talk to him anymore and stepped through the door. Butler Zhang, Mao Tiaoyu, and others quickly followed. Looking at their backs, Wu Lishi had a sinister look on his face. Let those evil ghosts tear you alive tonight. After that, he limped and closed the door. Passing through the porch, directly opposite is a 100 square meter sunken square with green brick paving. White magnolia and jasmine, which are common in the south, are planted on both sides. The autumn wind chases it, exuding a light fragrance. It's just that it's neglected and grows messy, but it has a bit more natural wildness. After looking up at the tall hall across the square, Su Junming turned around and said, Zhang, where is the lake where Yan Niang committed suicide? In the backyard. I will lead the way for the Taoist priest. Under the guidance of Butler Zhang, the group walked into the hand-painting corridor on the left and walked along the winding garden road for about half a quarter of an hour. A small lake with the size of 2 acres, with weeping willows planted on both sides and a rockery on both sides, appeared. In front of you. There are golden scales under the sun, the breeze blows, and the new willows on both sides of the bank are fluttering. No one would have guessed that this beautiful lake is haunted. Zhang, I haven't seen many dead branches and leaves along the way, and the buildings in the courtyard don't feel dilapidated. Is there anyone else living here in your mansion besides Wu Lishi? Taoist master misunderstood. My husband grew up here since he was a child. He couldn't bear the dilapidation of his ancestral house. Every 7 days, he would take advantage of the sunny afternoon to bring people to clean it. So although this yard has been uninhabited for a long time, it is still there. The splendor remains undiminished. I see. But this is strange. Did the Taoist priest discover something strange? Su Junming nodded. As the saying goes, if a large house is empty, evil spirits will be born. But when I walked from the front yard to here, I didn't find any place where the yin energy gathered. This is a bit strange. Look around for a moment. You guys wait here for a moment, I'll be back as soon as I can. After saying that, Mo Yunhu Tianshen performed the magic, and the whole person disappeared instantly. The unprepared Butler Zhang was immediately startled. After reacting and stabilizing his mood, he couldn't help but think. Although this Taoist priest is young, he is really a man of great ability. It seems that there is hope for solving the ghost disaster. Standing at the highest point in the whole house, Su Junming's celestial eye between his brows shone with golden light, and the whole house could be seen in his eyes. At the same time, the shadow of a pair of bronze mirrors also emerged from the pupils. With the heavenly eye talisman and the bronze mirror's ability to break illusions and preserve reality, the whole house no longer had any secrets in front of him. It's weird, it shouldn't be. Since this place is haunted, the yin qi should be stronger. But not only is there no yin qi here, it's actually clean and scary. Su Junming frowned. When something goes wrong, there must be a monster. The cleaner this place is, the more problems there are. Everything in the world carries yin and embraces yang. Even the monasteries of Taoists have both yin and yang. There is no yin qi here, so it must have been taken away by something. More importantly, there are no resentful ghosts hidden in the backyard lake that is supposed to be the origin of ghosts. Su Junming was confident that he would not be wrong. And even if he was wrong, the bronze mirror wouldn't be wrong either. Why is this happening? Su Junming thought hard about all the classics related to ghosts that he had read in Mission Sutra Pavilion, but he found nothing. He flashed around and checked almost the entire mansion, but he couldn't find any ghosts. Taoist Master Su, have you gained anything? Seeing him coming back, Butler Zhang came over quickly. Su Junming shook his head. If he hadn't seen the ghostly spirit from Wu Lishi, he would have thought that the Sen family's old mansion was haunted. It was simply a scam, not a real ghost. Butler Zhang is sophisticated and good at observing words and emotions. Daozang Su, my Sen family is a well-known family in the whole world, not to mention Nanhu Tanzhou. I will not blame myself for such a scandal as a haunted house. Su Junming nodded and thought for a moment. Steward Zhang, I will stay by the lake all night tonight. If I still find nothing, it means I am a poor man with limited knowledge. I want to apologize for catching ghosts. Taoist Master Su, feel free to do whatever you want. If you need anything, just give me your orders. After seeing Su Junming's ability to come and go without a trace, Butler Zhang put away the slight contempt he had previously felt due to his youth. After thinking about it, Su Junming said, Butler Zhang, please prepare 8 sides of good white silk for me. Each side is 3 feet 3 inches wide and 6 feet 5 inches high. Also prepare 8 wooden poles 1 foot and 2 feet long and as thick as the mouth of a bowl, 8 wooden poles 5 feet and 9 inches long and thick as the wrist. The best wood is peach, followed by ebony, mahogany, and thirdly poplar and willow. Please, Butler Zhang, prepare all the above items before Haishi. I have noted it down. Apart from these, does the Taoist master have anything else to prepare? No, that's all for now. Using these to set up the innate Bagua array is just a precaution. If he really wanted to kill the enemy, the Swanyan banner, the pinnacle of high-grade magic weapons, would be more powerful than the 4 elephants demon-slaying formation that he understood the most. The 4 elephants evil killing formation that Sima gave him at the beginning was relatively simple and could be arranged with just a few yellow talismans. He understood Yin Ming's 4 elephants covering the sky formation and Fukongzi asked Xinling Zhenjun according to the records of the 4 symbols formation in the book. Su Junming's practice in the 4 symbols formation has gone far beyond the scope of the 4 symbols evil exorcism formation. If you call this name again, it will seem inappropriate. After all, this is already your own 4-image formation. After some consideration, he changed the word evil to devil and became Su Junming's own 4 elephants demon-slaying array. I'll go down and prepare. Lu 11, you stay and serve the Taoist priest. Butler Zhang nodded and said. The tall, thin man next to him nodded reluctantly. Although Su Junming is very capable, no one wants to stay in a haunted yard. After explaining, Butler Zhang left in a hurry with another guard. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 84. Chapter 84, Innate Bagua Array. The Sen family's strength indeed exceeded Su Junming's expectations. The 8-sided white silk is all the finest Huzhu silk. Silk like this on the market costs 30 taels of silver per square foot. Only the top rich and powerful cannot afford such a luxury item. 8 large trees and 8 small trees, All of them are fine peach wood. Su Junming was not surprised that Senfu had top quality Huzhu silk. But peach wood, if not prepared in advance, it would be difficult to gather so much in such a short period of time. Seeing the confusion in his eyes, Butler Zhang smiled. Since this old house started to be haunted, many Taoist priests invited by the master have asked for peach wood to make utensils. Over time, there have been quite a few. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to find these woods for the Taoist priests in just a few hours. I see. Taoist Master Su, I have brought a lot of people this time. If Taoist Master needs it, just give them orders. Looking at the 20 or 30 strong men with swords and spears behind Butler Zhang, Su Junming shook his head. No need. I can do the rest myself. Butler Zhang, it's getting late, you can take these people out. If a ghost comes out, its strength is lower than mine. If it's too strong, I'm afraid to protect you I can't stop you. In fact, even if he didn't say it, Butler Zhang had no intention of staying. Do you want to leave a few people for the Taoist priest? Need not. He shook his head simply. He didn't have any magic power, so staying here would just be a burden. Then leave everything to the Taoist master. A poor man should do his best. After arching his hand, Butler Zhang waved people away. In the entire yard, except for Wu Leshi who was in front, Su Junming and Mao Tiaoyu were the only two people left. Taoist master, it's so dark here. When can we leave? Seeing the growing darkness around him, Mao Tiaoyu moved closer to Su Junming with some fear. We'll leave in a minute. He took out a talisman with a faint golden light from the bag and put it in Mao Tiaoyu's hand. After the first corpse-binding rope made with the tail of the demon fox was broken into 4 pieces, he selected the 2 pieces that were still valuable and made a pure yang talisman and a flame talisman. Holding it in hand, a faint warmth started from the talisman and flowed down the arm throughout the body like lightning. The coldness around him subsided instantly, and the fear brought by the dark night seemed not to be so strong anymore. Mao Tiaoyu looked at the talisman in his hand in surprise and started to play with it subconsciously. Patting his head, Su Junming stretched out his hand, and under the influence of magic, 8 pieces of fine Huzhu white silk were spread out in front of him out of thin air. Opening the magic bag, he took out a half-foot-tall porcelain bottle and removed the sealing talisman on it. Rich energy and blood emanated from it. What this bottle contains is the talisman drawing material he prepared using the weasel's essence and blood, fine cinnabar, and oriental purple energy. Drawn by magic power, translucent red liquid flew out from it. As he drew with his right hand in the air, a talisman the size of a water tank gradually took shape. Su Junming shot it in the air, and the talisman that was about to be formed flew up to the flag banner like lightning. When the 2 sides merged, powerful yang qi was derived from the void. The entire flag banner bloomed with rich golden light. The golden light flashed and then disappeared, and a flag that emitted a faint white light as a whole and the golden talismans took shape. Repeatedly, the 8-sided Dharma flag was drawn with the pure yang Dharma talisman. Su Junming then used his green bamboo cane to make 108 bamboo nails, and tied 8 thin peach wood nails horizontally and fixed them on the thick peach wood. Then the finished Dharma flags were fixed and nailed on the fine horizontal mahogany wood. In this way, the 8 flags and flags serving as the base of the formation are ready. Check it again, nothing is missing. Su Junming changed the seal formula and drank in a low voice. In 8 Bagua array, wake up. Dong dong dong. 8 chants in a row, 8 Dharma flags 1 or 2 feet high, were arranged in all directions, covering Su Junming and Mao Tiaoyu. A faint radiance came from Su Junming's danshan, connected to the 8-sided Dharma flag, and the powerful pure yang energy protected the 2 of them. Feeling the changes in the formation, Su Junming nodded with satisfaction. In fact, compared to the innate Bagua array, his strongest array is the 4 elephants demon killing array. But now, Unless spiritual objects are used to sacrifice the formation diagram or the Dharma flag, ordinary materials can no longer bear the powerful spiritual energy infusion after the formation is activated. So at this time, the innate Bhagwa formation becomes the best choice. The formation formula in his palm changed, and the 8 flags and banners gradually disappeared like dreamy bubbles, and the scenery of the backyard of Sen Mansion appeared before his eyes again. Taoist priest, your flag is gone. Mao Tiao Yu didn't understand why, and soon became surprised. Calm down. Come and sit next to me. Seeing his serious expression, Mao Tiao Yu didn't dare to neglect, so he quickly moved his buttocks and sat down next to him. Butler Zhang thoughtfully prepared several futons, so they had no place to sit. Remember, no matter what you see for a while, don't panic. Don't leave 3 feet away from me. Mao Tiao Yu nodded vigorously. After the explanation, Su Junming closed his eyes, changed the seal in his palm, and focused on 4 things. While practicing, he guided the pure Yang Qi to practice the 8-sided Dharma flag, while comprehending the innate Bhagwa array, while paying attention to the lake 3 feet away. Movement in. Seeing him sitting silently and not speaking, Mao Tiao Yu looked around at the thickening darkness around him, feeling timid. Fortunately, the talisman in his hand gave him warmth, but he still couldn't help but move closer to Su Junming. Outside the gate of the Sen family's old mansion, Butler Zhang was guarding here with 20 or 30 servants. They dare not approach the house if it is haunted, but it is indeed a safe place outside the house. Diddy. With the sound of sirens, 3 black Ford cars drove over. The car stopped, the door of the middle car opened, and a middle-aged man with a slender figure and a dignified look on his face stepped out. Butler Zhang hurriedly trotted over to greet him. Master. The middle-aged man nodded and looked up at the house in front of him. Is there anyone inside? Yes. How do you feel? I have never practiced, so I can't judge. But judging from the hands that Taoist Su showed at noon, he can at least be ranked among the top 10 among the monks and Taoists that the master invited in the past. Oh? Didn't you say he is very young? How can he have such power? This, I have no way of knowing. But this Taoist master's flight has disappeared, which really amazes me. Flight is extinct, the middle-aged man turned his head. Butler Zhang nodded quickly and said, this afternoon, Taoist Su was surveying the entire mansion. He disappeared without a trace in an instant. He came up without a trace and left without a trace. The middle-aged man nodded. This old slave had been with him for many years and he probably wouldn't lie about this matter. If he can come out alive, I have to get to know him, the middle-aged man said with great interest. Okay, I'm just passing by to take a look. You continue to guard here. If there is any news, send someone to report it immediately. Yes. Master, walk slowly. The middle-aged man took one last look at the old house, turned around and got in the car. The 3 cars started slowly and gradually disappeared into the increasingly dense night. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 85. Chapter 85 The Old Hag. The night was hazy, and although it didn't say I couldn't see my fingers, it wasn't much different. Fortunately, the lake surface is calm and waveless, and with a little light, you can see many things around you clearly. Occasionally, a breeze blows, causing the trees to sway and the branches and leaves to rustle. This is a beautiful scene in the early autumn nights in the south, but in this quiet and grand mansion, it adds a sense of fear. Mao Tiao Yu looked around. There seemed to be countless demons and ghosts hidden in the shadows behind the big rockery trees. They were looking at him sharply. If Su Junming hadn't been there and the jade talisman in his hand could provide warmth, I'm afraid he would have been there long ago. Ran. Subconsciously, he moved closer to Su Junming, as if this was the only way to give him a sense of security. Gudu. Although the sound of the bubbles bursting was small, it was very clear in the dark night. Mao Tiaoyu, who was still a little drowsy at first, suddenly became alert. Looking around nervously, the sound of popping bubbles of Gilialu reached his ears. At the same time, he also saw in the center of the lake ahead, something like boiling water, churning violently. Suddenly, a white shadow followed the bubbles and slowly emerged from the bottom of the lake. Shua, the moon-white long sleeves fluttered, as if an ancient dancer appeared as the long sleeves floated, the white shadow became clearer and clearer. Da-da-da. Mao Tiaoyu quickly covered his mouth, but he couldn't stop the sound of his teeth chattering. Afraid of disturbing the female ghost in the lake and being eaten by her, Mao Tiaoyu slapped Su Junming's thigh wildly. "You brat, looking at your potential, all my hard work has been wasted." Originally, he planned to recommend Mao Tiaoyu to Uncle Ju as a successor to the Taoist tradition, but seeing how bad-tempered he was, it was better not to embarrass himself. Throwing out a rope to tie up the corpse, Mao Tiaoyu was completely quiet. Su Junming frowned and looked at the female ghost appearing in the lake. Before, he had been paying attention to the surroundings, especially the lake. But I couldn't find out where this female ghost came from. The third eye between the brows and the bronze mirror of the two pupils looked at the bottom of the lake again, but there was still no trace. How strange. Wang Po, the Sen family has invited a Taoist priest to catch you tonight, right there. Wu Lashi's figure sprang out from behind a rockery by the lake, reaching out and pointing towards Su Junming, who was sitting cross-legged by the lake. The female ghost named Wang Po is a plain white, fat old ghost woman in her 40s or 50s with an ugly appearance. She and Wu Lashi stood together and looked as ugly as each other. No wonder they could get together. "My dear, after I deal with this stinking Taoist priest, I will climb to the bliss with you again." After that, he gave Wu Lashi a wink that could make people spit out their rice. Turning her eyes to Su Junming, Mrs. Wang looked up and down and laughed. "I didn't expect him to be a strong little Taoist priest." After hearing her words and looking at her eyes, Su Junming felt that the hair on his body stood up. "It's not fear, it's infiltration. Are you the evil spirit in the Sen mansion? Have you committed an evil act? He, little Taoist priest, tell me, madam, what evil have I done?" Wang Po was smeared with rouge, and her wide mouth like flaming red lips was open. Although she was smiling, it was more scary than crying. "You killed 17 members of the Sen family. Isn't that considered a crime?" Resisting the thought of blasting her, Su Junming said coldly. "What you are talking about is what those two sluts Yan Yang and Shenyan did, and it has nothing to do with me." He, look, they are here. Gilialu. The lake water began to stir again, and a dozen white shadows slowly emerged from the bottom of the lake. The strong ghost energy caused the lake to freeze instantly and made Su Junming's scalp numb. Without saying a word, he grabbed the hair and ignored the innate Bagua array he had set up. He activated the Hu Tianshen's magic and left instantly. Wang Po was surprised by his speed. "Little Taoist, why are you leaving in such a hurry? Why don't you stay and chat?" Moon-white long sleeves, lightning flew out of Wang Po's hand and shot directly at Su Junming's back. However, the mystery of the way of space was far beyond her imagination. Before she was halfway through her sleeves, Su Junming had already brought Mao Tiaoyu outside the Sen mansion. It's strange to say that as soon as you leave Sen mansion, all the ghostly energy is blocked inside and no trace of it is leaked. Su Junming stopped and turned around to look around. When he saw Wu Gui chasing after him, he couldn't help wiping the cold sweat on his forehead. The old hag is only a late-stage Xiantian fierce ghost. With the Swanyan flag in hand, it is not difficult to capture her. But the fierce ghosts that emerged from the lake later turned out to be all in the middle and late stages of Xiantian. He even sensed a ghost energy equivalent to Xiantian perfection emerging from the bottom of the lake. There are more than a dozen such fierce ghosts. If the Swanyan flag is a top-quality magic weapon, he can still compete with it, but now. Thankfully I ran fast just now. Su Junming felt happy in his heart. Ghost. As soon as Mao Tiaoyu was retracted, a piercing scream pierced the night sky, startling countless dogs to bark, and at the same time attracting Butler Zhang and the others. You brat, what's your name? He slapped Mao Tiaoyu hard on the back of his head. Taoist priest, ghosts, there are so many ghosts, let's run, Mao Tiaoyu said in a panic. What the hell? Didn't you see that we have come out? When Mao Tiaoyu heard this, he saw that he had indeed left the terrifying lake. Taoist priest Su. Butler Zhang hurried over with a group of servants carrying knives and guns. When he got closer, he took a breath. Daozang Su, have you ever subdued the ghosts in the mansion? Su Junming interrupted and asked, Steward Zhang, is your master from an official background? Why does the Taoist priest ask this? Being able to stay with dozens of fierce ghosts and still leave safely, unless you are protected by a heavy treasure, is the protection of the dynasty's luck. If you have a valuable treasure on your body, it is at least a spiritual weapon. But this may be too low. After all, the huge sect in mission only has 3 spiritual weapons. So the only possibility is dynasty luck. Dozens of ghosts. Not one. Butler Zhang was stunned. Su Junming grabbed his arm, took a step forward, and came to a tall poplar tree outside Sen's mansion. He pinched an eye-opening spell with both hands and slapped Butler Zhang on his forehead. Look by Yuzulf. Butler Zhang looked intently towards the backyard. Ouch, oh my god. He yelled, his legs went weak, and Butler Zhang fell down. The small lake with sparkling waves and beautiful scenery in the day was now completely filled with ghosts in white clothes and black hair. Judging from the size, it was probably no less than 200 people. Su Junming was also stunned. He had only been out for half a minute, but the number of ghosts in Sen's mansion had doubled. If it had been a little later. Waves of cold sweat seeped out from his back. There are hundreds of fierce ghosts. Unless they are golden elixir monks or have spiritual weapons in their hands, otherwise, innate level monks will have to kneel down whenever they come. The smell of urine made Su Junming recover from the shock. Looking at Butler Zhang sitting on the canopy of the tree with a pale face, Su Junming frowned, grabbed his shoulder, and walked back to the starting point. Butler Zhang. 2 servants stepped forward quickly and helped him out of Su Junming's hands. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 86. Chapter 86 Flying Scorpion Gu. Slowly, one after another, long. Seeing that his words were all in vain, Su Junming had no choice but to give him a heart-purifying talisman. Ignoring the astonished changes in his body, he said, Taoist Master Su, why are there so many ghosts in my old mansion? I still want to ask you about this. This damn house is almost turning into a ghost nest. Why didn't you tell Pandeo earlier? Thinking that he almost died there, Su Junming also felt angry. This, Taoist priest, we really don't know. What about the monks and Taoists you invited before? Didn't you say that? Butler Zhang hesitated. Most of the ghost-catching Taoist priests we invited didn't come out, and those who came out occasionally kept it secret. They just said they couldn't solve it and left in a hurry. So, today we also learned that there are so many ghosts in the house. Speaking of ghosts, even with the pure heart talisman, Butler Zhang's face became a bit pale, with fear in his eyes. Real? How dare I lie after seeing the Taoist master's magical powers? Judging from his expression, it didn't look like he was lying. Su Junming frowned. It shouldn't be. Why haven't so many ghosts been taken away by the underworld? If it were deep in the mountains, under the ground, in such an inaccessible place, it would make sense for so many ghosts to gather there. But in this densely populated area of Tanzhou City, how is it possible that there are so many ghosts, and the underworld won't accept them, and the human world won't cross them? Su Junming was puzzled. Taoist priest, the ghost in my old mansion. I'm sorry that I'm helpless, please ask someone else to do it. Farewell. Unless he thinks he has a long life, he will never go in a second time before his strength is reached. Without giving Butler Zhang a chance to reply, he grabbed his hair and ran away. Taoist priest. Before he finished speaking, he was already flying away. Butler, are we still here? The servant next to him asked with a horrified look on his face. Butler Zhang fearfully glanced at the house next to him that was shrouded in darkness and harbored countless ghosts, and his tone was firmer than ever. Come on, let's get out of here. After a few hundred meters away from the Sen Mansion's old residence, Su Junming stopped the Hu Tianshen practice and breathed a sigh of relief. Finally a near miss. Looking at Mao Tiaoyu, who became silent beside him. You brat, why don't you say anything? Are you scared to death? It was rare that Mao Tiaoyu didn't refute. Taoist priest, I feel a little panicked. Seeing his tight face, Su Junming smiled and said, it's strange that I don't panic after seeing so many ghosts. Mao Tiaoyu frowned and did not reply. Seeing that it was not far from Mao Tiaoyu's house, Su Junming stopped using the magic technique. Two figures, one big and one small, walked through the streets and alleys, and soon arrived at the entrance of the alley. Sudden. A faint fishy smell floated into Su Junming's mouth and nose. The monk is born with keen senses, and he believes that he will never hear anything wrong. Frowning slightly, he looked at the alleyway hidden in the darkness. Something is wrong. He stopped, but Mao Tiaoyu continued to move forward without stopping. Suddenly, countless flapping sounds sounded from the darkness. Su Junming's expression changed. Not good. He took a step forward like lightning and stood in front of Mao Tiaoyu. Shangqing clan method, fire technique. With his magic power activated, scorching flames flew out from the seal in his palm, and a crimson fireball with a diameter of 5 feet rolled forward. The tongues of fire rolled violently, swallowing up all the demons and monsters. In the blink of an eye, the alley within 30 meters was burned to a white ground by the fire. The seal changed, the mana was withdrawn, and the fireball gradually extinguished. But the scorching heat around them and the sparks all over the ground spoke of the domineering power of the flames. Since he mastered the flame talisman, Su Junming rarely uses it. It's not that he is unskilled, but since he started traveling, he has mostly dealt with zombies and ghosts. Against these evil monsters, the Pure Yang talisman has a stronger effect than the flame talisman. He stretched out his hand and a 3-inch long scorpion with a dark purple carapace and faintly broken wings appeared in front of him. Flying scorpion goo. Su Junming's expression turned cold. Mission Nanzong is located in the southern border of China, and it is close to the southwest border where witchcraft is flourishing. The two sides have had frequent contacts for 2,000 years. As an authentic Taoist in China, everyone in Mission dislikes these guys who are tinkering with poisonous insects and playing with souls. As a disciple of Mission inner sect, Su Junming naturally looked down upon them. However, despite hating them, Mission Nanzong knew a lot about them. Flying scorpion goo is a common war goo among black seedlings in southern Xinjiang. Rumor has it that the goo master collected a poisonous insect from a cross between 100,000 exotic poisonous scorpions and 6-winged centipedes from the mountains. It is not only highly poisonous, but also has a hard carapace. Flight is extinct, very powerful. Fortunately, there is only one pair of wings. If there were 2 pairs, the flames just now might not be able to burn them to death. The strength of the flying scorpion goo depends on the number of wings. A flying scorpion goo with a pair of wings can only deal with monks in the foundation establishment stage. If the number exceeds 100, be careful even in the early innate stage. The flying scorpion Gu with 2 pairs of wings is already invulnerable to water and fire, is difficult to damage with swords, and is extremely difficult to deal with. If there are 100 of them, and those below the late Xiantian stage, unless they have a special magical weapon, they will definitely be defeated. As for the flying scorpion Gu with 3 pairs of wings, one can be comparable to a first-class magic weapon. 1 or 200 can deal with ordinary monks in the early stage of the golden elixir. If there are tens of thousands, they will have to flee in the later stages of the golden elixir. Fortunately, it is difficult for Gu insects to advance. There are not many flying scorpion Gu with 2 pairs of wings, there are even fewer with 3 pairs of wings. A burst of flame flew from his palm, burning the remaining corpse into ashes. Su Junming pulled Maotu, took a step forward, and appeared at Maotu's home again. The strong smell of blood instantly spread into the mouth and nose. Not only Su Junming, but Mao Tiaoyu also smelled it. "Grandpa, Ziahua!" Mao Tiaoyu yelled and ran towards the main room. Su Junming arrived first and beat Mao Tiaoyu unconscious with his palm knife. Holding him in his arms and walking into the main room, he saw a snow-white skeleton lying quietly on the ground. There was no trace of flesh and blood on the bones, and bite marks of varying depths were all over his body. The ground beneath the bones was soaked with blood. The identity of the skeleton, which clearly belonged to an adult, was not difficult to guess. Su Junming's face was ashen, and it was obvious that Father Ma was bitten to death by a poisonous insect. He knocked Maotu unconscious because he didn't want him to see the scene. He knew very well the pain of losing the only loved one he had ever had. After using the Pure Heart Talisman to calm down the anger in his heart, Su Junming's consciousness swept across and found no trace of the 6 children, including Dezhuang and Xiaohua. But depending on the situation, it may be more dangerous than bad. Even the children are not spared, it is unforgivable. Tai's Hangwuji, the white crane is looking for traces, as urgent as the law. A 1-foot-long white feathered crane flew out from Su Junming's palm, circled 3 times above the bones, then flapped its wings and flew towards the north. Su Junming took a step forward, activated the Hu Tian technique, and quickly followed up. Not long after, we arrived outside a large house. He took back the white crane and looked at the familiar house. It's actually here. It was here that he saved the soul of Huang Yuanjia's child. I didn't intend to meddle in other people's business, but I didn't expect that I would inevitably do it in the end. Looking at the silent courtyard immersed in the dark night, Su Junming sneered in his heart. The Gu master deliberately left a dozen flying scorpion Gu and the bones of Father Ma in order to stimulate him and make him angry and come for revenge. Then he ran into the trap set by the Gu master. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 87. Chapter 87. The net is ready. The tricks that the net has been waiting for are all left over from Su Junming's play. However, today he planned to see what tricks this Gu master could play. I found a secret place and hid the unconscious Mao Tiaoyu. Returned to the gate of the house. The shadow of the bronze mirror flashed in the pupils of his eyes. In an instant, the walls that originally blocked the view were peeled off layer by layer, and all the secrets were exposed. But I saw 4 60mm caliber mortars facing the gate. Behind each mortar were 6 or 7 big men in black squatting. Around the artillery, there were more than a dozen heavy machine guns loaded with ammunition chains, sealing the entire southern wall where the gate was. Surrounded by more than a dozen machine guns, there were 200 to 300 Qinglong gang members armed with muskets, standing ready. Rifles, heavy machine guns, mortars, echelon configuration. No matter whether Su Junming walked through the gate or climbed over the wall, he was greeted by rifles and machine guns first, and then shells washed the ground behind him. If he rushes in when he is angry, even if he does not die, he will consume a lot of mana. Without magic power, a practitioner loses most of his abilities. You really think highly of me? With this configuration, you can fight a small encounter. Looking back, Su Junming did not rush in rashly. He turned around and walked around to the east of the house. There were still mortars, heavy machine guns and rifles. The same goes for the west and north sides. I didn't expect that the Qinglong gang would have so many weapons and equipment. 16 mortars, more than 60 heavy machine guns, and thousands of rifles. With so much firepower added together, he could be considered a small warlord in the troubled times of the Republic of China. After thinking for a moment, it would not be wise to go head-to-head with so many firearms. After all, he is not an evil cultivator. If he kills too much, he will not be able to pass the heavenly tribulation in the future. Moreover, if you don't wait for the disaster to come, and go to the underworld, and the killing is too heavy, you will have to go to the 18th level of hell to suffer, and then be reincarnated as a beast for 3 lives. The price is too high. But running away without a fight isn't his style either. Stretching out his hands, 2 ropes flashing with white light flew out of the cuffs. The white light was very conspicuous in the dark night. Su Junming frowned and looked up at the eastern sky. It was already Shenxi, and it would be dawn in half an hour. Then just wait. Ah! Qian Laosan yawned. He could hardly open his eyes after not sleeping all night. Lao Yang, you said daybreak is coming, how long do we have to wait? A middle-aged man wearing a short jacket and holding a shell gun next to him shook his head. The gang leader told me that without his order, everyone must stay here, otherwise gang rules will deal with it. If you want to taste the taste of 3 swords and 6 holes, you can go back to sleep now. Qian Laosan's heart trembled. He had seen the gang leader's cruel methods with his own eyes, and he really didn't have the guts to challenge the gang rules. Haha, I'm just complaining. By the way, what's the origin of the Taoist the gang is going to deal with? We, the Qinglong gang, actually brought out all the things that happened to the guys in the Qinglong gang. And those 16 small western cannons, they were with the Yangtze River gang during the land grab. The gang leader only used 3 doors, but this time he actually used them all. I don't know either. But you know the gang leader's character. If he can mobilize troops like this, he must be a powerful person. You and I should be more careful. Qian Laosan nodded and turned to look at his brothers sitting on the ground holding a gun in front of him. Most were drowsy and few were awake. This is not surprising. The period before dawn is the most sleepy time. Even he who has the strength cannot bear it, let alone these subordinates who have neglected training. Thinking of the gang leader's instructions, Qian Laosan stood up from his chair, took a few steps forward, and kicked the gang member closest to him. Get up, cheer me up. If you delay the gang leader's affairs, be careful, I will blow your head off. The gang members who were kicked by him did not turn over and sit up as he expected. Instead, they fell to the ground. Qian Laosan was stunned for a moment and was about to lean over to check. Suddenly, a rope as thick as a finger, shining with a faint white light, swam quickly against the ground like a snake. He was startled, and just as he was about to scream, the rope wrapped around his ankle like lightning. For a moment, Qian Laosan felt as if his body was frozen, and his thoughts froze in an instant, completely silent. However, his strangeness attracted the attention of Yang Feng behind him. Old money. After shouting, Yang Feng was shocked when he saw no response from the other party. He subconsciously reached out to touch the gun, and unexpectedly a white lightning penetrated his temple. There was a pain in his head, and all his strength was taken away in an instant. His body fell to the ground, and he gradually stopped breathing. Su Junming flew over, stretched out his hand, and the white bone needle fell into his palm. Although he didn't want to go on a killing spree and ruin his own merits. But he was not going to let go of these high-level officials of the Qinglong gang who were burdened with sins. The white bone needle flashed and killed Qian Laosan, who was full of resentment. He stretched out his hand and the guns and ammunition in the soldier's hands fell into his palm. These weapons are all made of fine steel and refined copper. After tempering, they will also be good materials for refining treasures in the future. Use the space compression technique to crush these weapons and equipment into tofu pieces, put them into the magic bag, and fly towards the east. He has 2 corpse-binding ropes and a golden lock for subduing demons in his hands, east, west, north, and south. He can suppress ambushes on any 3 sides, but cannot suppress the 4th side. The rest of these are no big deal. Looking at the crowd ambushing in the north, Su Junming stretched out his hand and 3 ropes flew towards them in light. Without the suppression of the corpse rope, those who had taken away their weapons before instantly exploded. The commotion filled the sky and shook the entire Qinglong gang. He stretched out his hand and pointed, and the 3 ropes, like 300-meter-long snakes, trapped the soldiers on guard to the north in the blink of an eye. As usual, we took away the firearms from these people, and after killing the senior officials, we turned our attention to the middle courtyard. Without firearms, ordinary members of the Qinglong gang have no threat and don't need to worry about them. Out of caution, he did not rush in rashly. Anyway, there is plenty of time, so taking it step by step is the best policy. Exploring back and forth on the east and west sides, we found clues about the rockery in the backyard. In the eyes of ordinary people, this is just an ordinary rockery, but in Su Junming's eyes, the rockery is nothing more than a cover-up. A black flag 8 feet high and 3 feet wide was planted on the ground. A vivid red toad is embroidered on the surface of the black flag. The light red mist hovered within 3 feet of the flag banner. The ground shrouded in this dense gas was scorched black, with no grass growing, and it was obviously highly toxic. After examining the black flag, Su Junming changed the seals in his hands. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 88. Chapter 88 5 Poison Formation. Shangqing Clan Method, Fire Technique. A large fireball with a diameter of 2 feet flew out from his palm and collided with the light red mist surrounding the black flag with a bang. The fire was raging, and the scorching flame quickly burned away the poisonous gas on the periphery, and then burned directly towards the black flag in the middle. At the same time, an old man with a goatee and a sinister expression, sitting cross-legged on an altar, wearing a Miao attire, suddenly opened his eyes. I didn't expect to be discovered by you, but it's not that easy to break through my 5 poison formation. The seal in the palm changed, and a green light disappeared into the formation floating in the air in front of him. Buzz. The black flag in front of Su Junming trembled, and a red toad appeared vividly in the flag. Suddenly it opened its mouth, and a light red air column as thick as the mouth of a bowl shot straight into Su Junming's face like a chain. Huh, I've been waiting for this move from you for a long time. Shangqing Zongfa, Flame Palm. With a distant slap of his right palm, the 7-foot-sized, extremely condensed flame giant palm shattered the poisonous gas with a bang. Shangqing Clan Law, Demon Killing Sword Talisman. The 3-foot golden sword slashed horizontally, and the sharp sword energy instantly cut off the wooden stake supporting the black banner. The formation was in chaos, and the golden locks that were ready to attack were coiled like dragons and snakes. In an instant, there were only 2 treasures and low-grade magic weapon-level black banners sealed in it. Without this corner, the formation would be incomplete, and its power would be instantly reduced by 20%. He took out the 6 towns talisman that he had drawn in advance, sealed the black flag, folded it and put it into the magic bag. Although the black flag was filled with poisonous energy and was not of the same type as him, the material was indeed the finest southern Xinjiang spirit silk, so it would be a pity to destroy it. After today's incident, I can practice it again, keep it for my own use, or sell it, it will be a good harvest. Later, in the northeast, he found a white sail with a 6-winged centipede embroidered on it. In the southeast, he found a green flag with a rusty hydra on it. He also studied the formation carefully and understood that it was a 5-element formation, but the remaining flags that were supposed to be embroidered with geckos and scorpions were not found, and they were obviously taken away by the opponent in advance. Without the obstruction of the formation, Su Junming quickly advanced to the final core. It was also the yard where he rescued the soul of Huang Yuanjia's son. The courtyard was very quiet. The members of the Qinglong gang whose guns he had confiscated had collapsed because they were leaderless, so no one came here. The mirror image in his eyes flashed, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. There were several strong men holding fuses in each corner of the yard, and hundreds of kilograms of high explosives were scattered underground throughout the yard. This little kid wants to stop me. The white bone needle flashed in the palm, and the stream of light flew in the courtyard. There were a few pops and the body fell to the ground. He took back the bone needle, stepped into the hospital, came to the center, and looked up at the closed door. "Why, do you still want me to invite you out?" Dang dang. The sound of the cane hitting the ground and the sound of footsteps sounded at the same time. Squeak. The closed door opened, and an old man holding a sheep skull staff and a red leather drum hanging from his waist came out. The old man has a goatee on his chin, a thin build, and wears a navy blue miao suit. There is a bit of sinisterness in his temperament. Both sides looked at each other. I thought it was the shameless bull noses of the Luofu sect who ruined my good deeds, but I didn't expect it to be a young kid. The Mission Nan sect has always been called the Luofu sect in the southern spiritual circles, especially among the Miao monks. I didn't expect that you, an old coffin man with half your neck buried in the earth, would dare to find yourself a good cemetery while you can still breathe, and then wait for death at home. Running out to harm others, I really don't know how to write the word death. Immediately afterwards, Su Junming slapped the tip of his nose with his hand in disgust. How long has it been since you took a shower? This smell of bugs is so disgusting. In the words of our hometown, you are really a talent. When it comes to trolling, Su Junming, who has experienced severe online beatings in the 21st century, is the king in this era. Junior, you are looking for death. The old man with the goatee's face turned livid, and he roared angrily. He swept the sheep skull staff across his face and fired a 3-foot green light, which shot straight into Su Junming's chest like lightning. Before he even got close, a fishy smell had already entered his mouth and nose. Su Junming did not dare to neglect, and changed his tactics. Shangqing Clan Law, Fierce Rocket. The scorching flames condensed into a wrist-thick, 3-foot-long arrow, which struck first. The red and green lights collided together, and countless fireworks exploded in an instant. Although they were bright, the poisonous gas and fire were not easy. When they fell to the ground, they made a shishi sound. In the blink of an eye, they corroded and melted, creating large and small potholes, which shows its power. You brat, let me see how you block your Shenhua order this time. With a sharp shout, the old man with the goatee struck the small red leather drum on his waist, 3 times in a row, and the sound of the sound sounded from all directions. In the blink of an eye, countless scorpions, large and small, spewed out from the roof, from the trees, from the cracks in the bricks, from everywhere in sight, like a sea wave. Looking at their shiny blue tail hooks, they are obviously poisonous. Dong dong. 2 more drum sounds and the sound of flapping wings came from the hall behind the old man with the goatee, and a dark cloud 3 feet in size flew in from inside. Thousands of flying scorpion goo, led by 20 or 30 double-winged flying scorpion goo, blocked Su Junming's possibility of escaping from the air. Sharp-tongued brat, don't think that if you break my 5 poison formation and block the Ares staff, you won't know that the sky is high and the earth is high. You will be killed by these 10,000 scorpions today. Ha ha. It's just a poisonous insect. What's the big deal? Let me destroy it. Su Junming slapped the talisman bag, and 4 streams of light flew to the southeast, northwest, and northwest. Buzz. To the south, a red beam of light rose into the sky, and strong fire energy gathered from all directions. In the west, a white light beam rushed up, and the boiling Shinjin Chi was like a sea tide. In the north, a purple beam of light rushed up. Although there was no golden wind and fierce fire, it gave off an aura that suppressed everything. In the east, a navy blue light pillar shot up, its aura was misty and mysterious. In each beam of light is a talisman that is 1 foot long and 3 inches wide. It is the Fire Talisman, Demon Slaying Sword Talisman, Six Towns Talisman and Soul Confining Talisman. The old man with the goatee was also an experienced veteran in fighting. As soon as he saw this battle, he knew it was not good. His face changed and he flew back. Of course Su Junming didn't want him to run away. 4 elephants demon slaying array. Get up. The 4-color light surged, covering an area of 10 feet in the blink of an eye. Looking at the old man with the goatee who escaped from the formation, there was a trace of pity in his eyes. Without the help of the array diagram, just relying on the Danshin array diagram, 10 feet is the maximum range he can deploy. Forget it, kill these poisonous creatures first, before they harm others. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 89. Chapter 89 4 Elephants Demon Slaying Formation. The seals in Su Junming's hands changed, and the aura of southern fire began to churn violently under the blessing of the formation. Shangqing Clan Method, Fire Technique. When Su Junming used the same spell, the fireball was only 5 or 6 feet long, but with the help of the formation, it instantly expanded tenfold. Within the formation, flames burst into the sky in an instant. The flames soaring into the sky, burning violently, and bursting with tongues of fire, fully expressing its power. The blazing fire reflected the face of the old man with the goatee. Hearing the crackling sound of countless poisonous scorpions in the formation as the water evaporated, and the wail of the flying scorpion goo before it died, his distressed face was distorted. Those ordinary poisonous scorpions were just that, the nearly 1,000 flying scorpion goo, but the results he had accumulated over 30 years of hard work were almost destroyed here in one day. Damn it! Don't even think about it. The old man with the goatee slapped the small red leather drum on his waist hard, and a dong sound, like a sound that penetrated the soul, penetrated the formation. Hearing this voice, all the flying scorpion goo who were still alive rushed over to chow Su Junming desperately. Su Junming, who was mentally connected to the formation and was always paying attention to every change in the formation, naturally noticed something unusual about the flying scorpion goo. That's all. The flying scorpion goo with 2 pairs of wings cannot be burned to death by fire alone. As soon as the seal in the palm changed, the sound of the chain sliding was heard, and 20 or 30 black chains passed through the 4-winged flying scorpion goo. Moment. These flightless goo insects seemed to be drunk and staggered down. Su Junming waved his hand, and all the flying scorpion goo with 2 pairs of wings fell into his palm, and he turned his hand and put it into the magic bag. It has a tough body, strong poison, tenacious vitality, and no ability to fly, but its only weakness is its weak soul. It's perfect to deal with them with the soul-binding talisman. It was not used at first because there were too many poisonous scorpions here and the flame talisman was more suitable than the soul-binding talisman. Seeing that the fire was almost done, Su Junming waved his long sleeves, and a strong wind flew up, picking up countless black ash and flying out of the formation. Seeing this scene, the old man with the goatee's face was so gloomy that he could shed tears. Those black ash are the final proof of the existence of thousands of flying scorpion goo and more than 10,000 poisonous scorpions in the world. The 4 talismans retracted and circled around Su Junming for a foot, circling and flying. Old man, feel free to use whatever means you have. 2 angry eyes stared at the little bastard opposite. His biggest weapon was the goo worm, but that kid also had a large formation. As long as he entered the formation, he would be able to survive even with 100% of his strength. You can play half of it. But if they don't enter the formation, the goo insect's body will be hard, and its life force and numerical advantage will not be able to be used. If he left like this, he would be unwilling to do so. After hesitating for a while, his expression became serious. "You brat, you forced me." After saying this, his left hand, which was like a chicken's claw, reached into the bag and took out a black clay pot 1 foot high and half a foot wide, with a red cloth seal. There were 16 sealing charms affixed to the top, bottom, left and right of the jar. Even so, a cold feeling still spread through the jar. The old man with the goatee unveiled a sealing talisman, and the cold aura instantly became twice as powerful. Su Junming is not a fool. He knows that the other party is going to show his trump card, but he still waits for him to be ready. This kind of stupid behavior of seeking death has also appeared in movies, novels, or in some non-chiefs, but it was definitely not him. Hushin magic talisman, divine magic. The figure disappeared instantly. The old man with the goatee who was staring at him was shocked when he saw this scene. Before he could react, a sharp white light shot towards his head. Ah! A blood-curdling scream sounded out, and a few drops of blood spattered out from his left temple. The white bone needle passed through the skull. With the mission of eradicating evil done, Su Junming was about to give him a few more injections so that this old guy would die completely. Suddenly, a black stream of light flew out of the mouth of the goatee old man, like lightning, and shot directly into Su Junming's mouth and nose. The speed was so fast that it was almost impossible to react. However, Mission Nanzong has a deep understanding of the way of witchcraft and goo. All Miaozhong goo masters will keep a life goo in their body. This life goo is the most powerful goo in their body, and it is also their trump card. It is also their second choice. A life. Once the physical body dies, the soul can still escape by attaching itself to the natal goo. Since this old man with a goatee can control thousands of poisonous scorpions and flying scorpion goo, then his natal goo must also be a flying scorpion goo mother. As a direct disciple of Mission Nanzong, Su Junming naturally would not be unprepared. 4 elephants demon-slaying formation, 6 suppression talismans. A powerful force of suppression instantly enveloped the whole body. The speed of the black stream of light quickly slowed down. A flying scorpion goo with 3 pairs of wings appeared in Su Junming's eyes. Soul-binding talisman. Come out. 2 chains flew over and passed through the flying scorpion goo's body. The phantom soul of the flying scorpion goo with 3 pairs of wings and the soul of the old man with the goatee were captured by the soul-restraining rope. Su Junming's understanding of the soul-binding talisman has reached the stage of the blue basic talisman. If he tries his best, not to mention the old man with goatee in the late Xiantian stage, but also the monk in the early stage of ordinary golden elixir, he can be caught by him unpreparedly. Catch the soul. However, catching it out is one thing, but how long it can be trapped is another. The souls of monks in the golden elixir stage have been refined by heavenly thunder and have given birth to a little bit of pure yang in pure yin, which is much stronger than the innate and perfect ghost cultivators. It's easy to catch, but hard to suppress. Of course, this is a golden elixir monk. The old man with the goatee is in the late stage of innate talent. Without the support of magic power, Su Junming can trap him with the soul-binding rope alone without using the 6 suppression talisman. He stared at the young Taoist priest who was so close with his malicious eyes. He never expected that after a long career in the cultivation world, he had escaped being rounded up by countless fellow monks, and finally fell into the hands of a young boy. You think you're going to win? Su Junming stretched out his hand and pointed out the magic golden lock and the 2 corpse-tying ropes, circling like snakes, quickly trapping the black jar covered with sealing symbols for more than 10 times. The bulging yin qi in the jar gradually calmed down. Seeing his stiff expression, Su Junming smiled slightly. It should be fine now. The old man with the goatee's face trembled, and he stared at the little Taoist priest opposite him with an ugly expression. All his plans were planned by the other party. Are you, really a disciple of the Luofu sect? He has never seen any decent disciple be as cunning as this little bastard in front of him. Replace it if it's fake. Su Junming has read too many novels and movies where broken words lead to a victory and eventual overturn, so unless necessary, as long as the fight can be won, don't bullshit. Even if you have to force it, it will pave the way for an unexpected surprise later. To sum it up in one sentence, enter the village quietly, and don't let anyone shoot you. He stretched out his hand and a black clay pot flew into his palm, but before he could sense it, a huge danger suddenly hit his heart. His expression changed drastically, and Hu Tianshen's magic was activated instantly. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 90. Chapter 90, The Nine Heavenly Seal Script for Gods and Demons. Boom. The earth-shattering loud noise broke the silence of dawn. A burst of flames, enough to cover the entire manor, rose into the sky. The flames, dozens of feet high, like an angry dragon, quickly evaporated all the water vapor within a radius of more than 10 miles. What was stronger than the flames was the shock wave generated by the explosion. The thick trees were destroyed like straw, the solid walls were easily torn apart like paper, all the water in the small lake not far away was blown away. Flying, and then the high temperature evaporates a large amount of water vapor. The house covering an area of nearly 100 acres was completely destroyed by the explosion. The power produced by hundreds of kilograms of explosives is even more terrifying than the full force of a Jindan monk's attack. Looking at the large crater with a diameter of 100 meters and a depth of more than 10 meters left by the explosion in the distance, Su Junming broke into a cold sweat on his back, secretly congratulating himself on his decisiveness. If he had been just a little bit later, I'm afraid he would have explained it here. Not even the soul could escape from such a powerful explosion. However, this method of destroying both the jade and the stone should not be the handiwork of the old man with the goatee. Seeing his eyes blazing with shock and anger, you knew that this old guy had also been plotted against. What a pity that bag of magic must be, there must be a lot of good things in it. Kill Yang Zalin. If you kill Yang Zalin for me, I will tell you the secret in this black jar, the old man with the goatee said suddenly with hatred. Everyone hates betrayal more than enemies. Su Junming glanced at him. Why should I help you? This yin swallowing jar is one of the sacred artifacts of my He Miao's Chiyu cave. According to the evaluation of Yuhan monks, it is a top-quality magical artifact with 12 treasure prohibitions. If it can survive the catastrophe, it will be a spiritual weapon. The ultimate magic weapon with 12 treasure prohibitions. Su Junming's eyes suddenly lit up. Subconsciously, he grasped the black clay pot in his hand. Seeing him like this, the old man with the goatee smiled. Hee. If you kill that Yang Zalin for me, I will tell you the secret formula for controlling the yin swallowing jar. Su Junming's heart moved, but he was not dazzled by joy. You are a Gu master at the late stage of Xiantian, but you are able to master the sacred weapon of Chiyu Cave. I'm afraid it's not that simple, right? Chu Cave, Taoist priest Simu mentioned to him, is the holy land of millions of Black Miao in southern Xinjiang, and the Julai Cave, the holy land of White Miao, are the two major inheritances of Miao Xinjiang Gu masters. Although he is not as strong as Mishan, he cannot be easily provoked. The old man with the goatee was unexpectedly single and said directly, yes, I stole this yin swallowing jar from Chu Cave. For this treasure, dozens of innate Gu masters in Chu Cave have been arresting me for 3 years. Su Junming's face darkened. What the bastard emotion gave him was not a top-notch magic weapon at all, but a big trouble. The thought of being chased by dozens of innate Gu masters in Chu Cave made his scalp numb. But would he be willing to just give up on a treasure that could become a spiritual weapon after a tribulation? Su Junming asked himself a dozen times in his heart, and the answer was no. But he was even more curious, why did the old man with the goatee take such a risk to steal the yin-swallowing jar from Chu Cave? What's in this jar? Have you ever heard of the 9 heaven seal script for gods and demons? Su Junming's pupils shrank and he nodded. Together with the White Lotus Sutra and the Maitreya Great Yuan Gong, they are called the 3 major religious suppressing magical powers of the White Lotus sect. 100 years ago, the various sects of the Fuzhuan sect united to destroy the White Lotus section. Therefore, Su Junming is no stranger to the famous White Lotus sect's suppressing exercises. Could it be that? Yes, 3 years ago I found the jade slips recording the 9 heaven seal script of gods and demons in a hidden cave at the goddess peak of Yandang Mountain, as well as a heavily sealed jade urn. I have long admired the reputation of the White Lotus sect's magic technique, the 9 heaven seal script of gods and demons. I felt like I had found a treasure as soon as I saw it. I studied it carefully for a long time and finally figured out all the key points. What's even more rare is that in that jade the urn seals the soul of a woman who was born with the fate of a golden phoenix. Su Junming's expression suddenly changed. Being born with a phoenix life means that you will have the opportunity to become the mother of a country in the future. If you embark on the path of cultivation in the future, you will definitely soar to the sky. Such people are favored by heaven and earth and are born with great luck. If you dare to kill such a person, no wonder the White Lotus Church was destroyed. But looking at his expression, Su Junming subconsciously looked at the black can in his palm, and his face suddenly became ugly. Having been sealed by that jade urn for 100 years, even if you are born with a phoenix life, your soul is already extremely weak. If you want to grow quickly, you must need countless soul essences to warm and nourish it, and the sacred artifact yin swallowing jar in my Black Miao Holy Land Shu Cave it is the most suitable magical weapon. What's even more rare is that the yin swallowing jar can not only purify the soul essence, but also has the function of sealing it, which is perfect for training the ghost mother. The 9 Tian Du seal technique of gods and demons is also called the 9 sons mother demons. One mother gives birth to 9 sons, all of whom are different. It is the top secret method of the devil's way. You captured so many souls just to sacrifice the ghost mother? And those children are the 9 sons, Su Junming said coldly. Not bad. Unfortunately, I have only gathered 7 sons from one mother. I am missing the most important daughter of Taiyin, who was born in the yin year of yin time, yin day, yin month, yin year, and the son of Zhi Yang, who was born in the year of yang time, yang day, yang month, and yang year. The 9 sons of heavenly demon cannot be perfected, otherwise you will definitely lose in today's battle. One of the most notable features of the magic method is that it is easy to achieve quick results, but the side effects are often several times greater than those of the righteous method, and the chance of surviving a thunderstorm is very small. So confident. What do you know? Once the 9 sons ghost mother is successfully practiced, the ghost mother will become a golden elixir, and the 9 sons will also be equivalent to innately perfect ghost cultivators, and one mother and 9 sons are spiritually connected, just like one person, and the power they exert will be unparalleled. Even a golden core cultivator wouldn't dare to ignore your little talent. Su Junming nodded. If the 9 sons and ghost mother is not strong, the 9 heaven seal the gods and demons method will not become the White Lotus sect's suppressive technique. The things in this yin swallowing jar are what you call one mother and 7 sons. Good. Those children taken from Ma's house on Zakuai Lane. They are dead, and the ghosts are among them. They are all the sons of the 3 yangs or the daughters of the 3 yins that I asked Yang Zalin to collect from various places. Yang time, Yang day, Yang month, Yang year, if there are 4 that match up, they are the sons of the 3 yangs, similarly, they are the daughters of the 3 yin. Although they are not as rare as the sons of the solitude and the daughters of the lunar yin, who are all yang in the 4 seasons, they are also talented. Thick. Su Junming's expression was gloomy. He adhered to the moral standards of his previous life and hated the devil who killed infants and young children the most. The old man with the goatee saw something was wrong and spoke quickly. Wait a minute. Don't you want to know the details of one of the White Lotus sect's 3 major religion-suppressing magic techniques, the 9 heaven seal script for gods and demons? Su Junming, who was most interested in all kinds of magical skills, subconsciously stopped.